The strongest man I knew never raised his voice. He never lectured. He never yelled. But when he spoke, everyone listened, not because of the volume of his voice, but because of the weight of his presence. My grandfather was a man whose strength wasn't measured in loud declarations or grand gestures. It was in his silence, his calm, and his unshakable integrity. A quiet strength that resonated deeply with anyone fortunate enough to cross his path. He never read Marcus Aurelius or Epictetus. He never carried a book of philosophy, nor did he quote the Stoics to make a point. Yet without knowing it, he lived their teachings every day. Every decision he made, every challenge he faced, reflected the same timeless wisdom that has guided the greatest minds for centuries. He didn't speak Stoicism. He was Stoicism. As a child, I didn't always understand him. His silence sometimes felt like distance. His refusal to complain or explain left me confused. But as I grew older, as life's storms hit me harder, I began to see what he was really teaching me. Not with words, but with actions. Not with sermons, but with steady example. One vivid memory stands out. I was maybe 10 years old, and I saw him calmly repairing a broken fence in the middle of a fierce storm. The wind was howling, rain was pounding, and most people would have sought shelter. But not him. He worked steadily, methodically, never raising his voice or showing frustration. That day, I realized strength wasn't about noise or anger. It was about endurance and calm focus in chaos. He was not rich. He was not famous. He never sought attention or approval. But what he had, what he left behind, is far more valuable than wealth or status. It is character. Unshakable, unbreakable character. That character was forged through hardship. He lost a brother young, fought through hard labor on a farm, and survived serious injuries that would have crippled most. Yet through it all, he never complained. I remember once asking him how he managed to stay so steady when everything was falling apart. He simply said, "You can't control what life throws at you. You only control how you respond." That simple statement became a guiding truth for me. He lived by a quiet code. Never complain. Keep your promises. Live simply. Respect others. Stand firm in your beliefs. Teach by example. And face life's end without fear. These principles didn't come from a book, but from experience, trial, failure, and relentless perseverance. The world today is loud, fast, and full of distractions. We are bombarded with noise, opinions, demands, constant updates, pulling our attention in every direction. But my grandfather taught me that true strength lies in cutting through that noise and living with intention and calm. He showed me that when the world screams for your attention, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is to remain silent and steady. He was steady in his work, steady in his relationships, and steady in his values. This steadiness was magnetic. People trusted him, not because he shouted his worth, but because he quietly proved it day after day. He was a rock in the shifting sands of life. And this is the truth I want to share with you today. Real strength doesn't shout. It whispers. It's the silent force inside that keeps you standing when everything around you is falling apart. It's the quiet voice that says, "Keep going," when the world screams for you to quit. It's the armor you build without ever showing it off. These 10 lessons I learned from my grandfather are not just his story. They are universal truths, ancient wisdom wrapped in the fabric of everyday life. If you let them, they will change how you face adversity, how you hold your ground, and how you move forward when it feels like the world is against you. Each lesson is a pillar, steady, unyielding, and tested by time. Together, they form a code of strength, discipline, and integrity that helped him survive wars, losses, and the harshest storms life threw his way. And these lessons can help you do the same. You might be facing your own battles right now. Maybe life feels overwhelming. Maybe you feel like breaking. Maybe you wonder how some people seem to glide through pain and chaos, untouched. This is why these lessons matter. They teach us not how to avoid hardship, but how to become stronger because of it. Because the strongest man I ever knew wasn't loud. He didn't command attention with words. He earned respect by being dependable, by holding firm, by living with a code that never wavered. He was steady when others faltered. He endured when others gave up. And that endurance, that quiet strength, left a legacy far beyond any shout could ever reach. If you listen closely, you might hear that same strength waiting inside you. It's there, beneath the doubts and fears, beneath the noise. This is your invitation to awaken it, to learn from a man who showed that true power comes not from what you say, but from how you live. So as you watch this, know that these lessons are not just my grandfather's story. They can be your guide. The world may be loud, confusing, and chaotic, but you can choose to walk through it with calm, purpose, and strength that echoes long after the noise fades. These 10 lessons shaped me, and if you let them, they can shape you too. You don't need to be loud to be heard. You don't need to shout to be strong. Sometimes the greatest power is quiet, unwavering, and consistent. It's the power that helped my grandfather live a life of integrity, courage, and peace. And it's the power that can help you face your own storms with dignity and calm. Lesson 1. Never complain. Endure in silence. One of the most powerful lessons I learned from my grandfather was how to carry pain without making it public. When hardship struck, whether it was losing family members, financial ruin, or severe injury, he never once gave in to the temptation to complain. His strength was quiet, grounded in endurance. He understood that life is often unfair and painful, but that complaining only deepens suffering rather than solves it. Instead of crying out, he held his struggles close, channeling his energy into action and perseverance. This wasn't about bottling up emotions recklessly. It was about choosing which battles deserved his voice and which required silent strength. By enduring in silence, he preserved his power. Complaints are like leaks in a ship. Each word of frustration lets strength escape. But silence, on the other hand, is like sealing those leaks, keeping the ship steady no matter how rough the waters get. He taught me that real toughness is found in how you show up when no one is watching, without the applause or sympathy. When life gets loud, the weak panic and shout. The strong pause and endure. This lesson shaped how I face hardship, quietly, steadily, without wasting energy on self-pity. Lesson 2. Your word is your oath. Integrity, as my grandfather lived it, was non-negotiable. In his world, a man's word was the strongest contract. He never signed legal documents or formal agreements, yet people trusted him without hesitation. Why? Because when he said something, he meant it. And that promise was as binding as any law. This lesson goes deeper than just honesty. It's about identity. Epictetus's wisdom echoes here. First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. My grandfather didn't merely speak these words. He lived them. To say something was to commit himself fully to it. In practice, this meant if he promised to help, he showed up regardless of inconvenience. If he vowed to protect his family or uphold his values, there was no wavering. This kind of reliability created trust that outlasted transactions or formalities. In today's world where words are cheap, this lesson is a reminder that true power lies in being a person of your word, consistently and without excuse. Lesson 3. wake up early, and move with purpose. Discipline was the rhythm of my grandfather's life. He believed that how you start your day determines everything that follows. Before the sun even rose, he was already awake and moving, preparing for the day with intention. There were no distractions, no idle moments lost to scrolling phones or aimless chatter. Each morning was sacred, a time to set a clear tone. This lesson is about more than just waking early. It's about moving through life with purpose and clarity. When you rise before the world stirs, you create space for focus and preparation. You build momentum that carries through every challenge. My grandfather's mornings weren't rushed or frantic. They were deliberate, small tasks performed with full attention. It was a practice of presence, an exercise in self-discipline. This early morning routine gave him the calm, steady mindset to handle whatever hardships the day brought. Discipline begins before the sun rises, he would say. It's the quiet actions done daily that create an unshakable character and an unbreakable spirit. Together, these three lessons form the core of my grandfather's quiet power. They show that Stoicism isn't about grand gestures or loud proclamations. It's about consistent, silent strength, living with integrity, endurance, and clear purpose every day. Lesson 4. Live simply, want less. My grandfather's life was a testament to simplicity. He owned very little, but was richer than anyone I knew in peace and contentment. He taught me that true wealth is not measured by possessions or flashy status, but by how little you need to feel fulfilled. Minimalism is not poverty, he said with quiet conviction. It is freedom. He believed the more you accumulate, the more distractions you invited into your life. Distractions that pull your mind away from what truly matters. His simple lifestyle was a deliberate choice to subtract clutter, both material and mental. He often reminded me, do not add to your life, subtract what distracts. This wasn't about deprivation, but about clarity. The less you want, the less you chase, and the more grounded you become. His example showed me that simplicity breeds peace. It's hard to be anxious or restless when your desires are few and your focus is clear. Lesson 5. Respect women, but never chase them. In a world full of bravado and chasing approval, my grandfather stood apart in how he honored women. He taught me that strength isn't shown by dominance or pursuit. It's shown by self-respect and dignity. A man who values himself never begs, he told me once. This was not about pride, but about integrity. He respected women deeply and treated them with honor, but he never chased or pleaded for affection or approval. His calm confidence was magnetic, not needy. This lesson is powerful because it flips the typical narrative. Instead of chasing desire recklessly, he chose dignity over craving every time. This balance of respect and self-respect became a blueprint for how to build authentic relationships rooted in honor, not desperation. Lesson 6. Be calm when others are loud. Life is noisy. There will always be drama, conflict, and chaos surrounding you. My grandfather was tested many times. Fights broke out, tempers flared, but he remained unmoved, a still point in the storm. He said to me, "The world will test your peace. Your stillness must pass." His calm was not a show. It was earned through years of self-mastery. Marcus Aurelius himself would have admired this quiet fortitude. It was the mark of a man who controlled himself when everything else threatened to spiral. This lesson taught me that true power is not in raising your voice or meeting noise with noise. It's in cultivating a calm mind that neither reacts nor crumbles. In a world designed to rattle you, maintaining your inner peace is the ultimate victory. These three lessons reveal the quiet code my grandfather lived by. A a life of integrity grounded in simplicity, respect, and calm strength. They show how principles, when practiced daily, become an unbreakable foundation no storm can shake. Lesson 7. Stay loyal to your code, not your comfort. One of the strongest images etched in my mind was watching my grandfather turn down easy jobs that required him to compromise his values. He rejected dishonest money and walked away from quick gains that felt shallow or wrong. To him, no amount of comfort was worth the cost of betraying his own principles. He taught me this crucial Stoic lesson. Short-term gain is always long-term loss if it costs your soul. The comfort of today can become the chains of tomorrow. Real strength is rooted in loyalty to your code, not convenience. He used to say, "You serve your code, not convenience." This meant that when the pressure is on and shortcuts tempt you, you hold firm to what you believe. Integrity is a currency that compounds over a lifetime. Once lost, it's nearly impossible to regain. This lesson reshaped how I view decisions, not by what's easy, but by what's right. It is the foundation of a life worth living, one that earns respect, not just from others, but from yourself. Lesson 8. Teach by example, not words. My grandfather never sat me down for the talk. He never lectured or preached what it meant to be a man, or how to live a good life. Instead, every day, he simply showed up and was the man I needed to learn from. He embodied honesty, patience, hard work, and humility. His actions were louder than any speech. I grew up watching him handle challenges, treat people with respect, and keep his word, even when it was hard. This embodied teaching is the core of true mentorship. Seneca captured this perfectly. Words instruct, actions persuade. Words can inspire, but actions transform. Real influence comes from living your principles, not just talking about them. This lesson taught me to lead quietly by example. Whether at work, with friends, or family, embodying the values you hold dear speaks more powerfully than any sermon. People may forget what you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel or what you showed them through your life. Lesson 9. Fear no man, but fear losing integrity. My grandfather was fearless, not in the reckless sense, but with a calm confidence rooted in self-awareness and integrity. He stood his ground when confronted, always respectful, but never submissive. "You bow only to your conscience," he said. This phrase stuck with me. He feared no man because he knew who he was and what he stood for. His strength wasn't in muscle or loudness, but in an unshakable commitment to his own values. This kind of fearlessness is rare. It is the freedom that comes from living authentically and refusing to sacrifice your integrity, no matter the pressure. When you honor your conscience above all else, external threats lose their power over you. This lesson taught me that true courage is not about absence of fear, but about mastery of it, and about having a foundation so solid that no one can make you compromise your essence. These 3 lessons, loyalty to your code, teaching by example, and fearless integrity, form the backbone of my grandfather's Stoic legacy. They are a blueprint for anyone who wants to stand tall in a world that often rewards the opposite. Death is not the end. It is the final test. Lesson 10. When your soul is right, death is just another door. The final lesson my grandfather taught me was thus the most profound. The last time I saw him, he wasn't broken or afraid. Instead, he was calm, almost peaceful, a man who had completed the mission of his life. He smiled gently and said, "I am not afraid. I left nothing undone." Those words struck me deeply and have echoed in my mind every morning since. It wasn't bravado or denial. It was the quiet confidence of a man who had lived fully, who had embraced life's challenges without regret. This is the ultimate Stoic truth. Do not fear death itself, but fear the tragedy of reaching the end without ever truly living. Death is inevitable, but how you meet it reveals the life you chose to lead. If your soul is at peace, death is not an enemy. It is merely the last test. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years." My grandfather lived with that same awareness every day. He understood that life is fragile and finite, so he made every moment count. His fearless acceptance of death was not resignation. It was the culmination of a lifetime spent living honestly, with integrity, discipline, and purpose. That final lesson gifted me a new way to see mortality, not as an end to dread, but as a doorway that confirms the life well lived. Facing death like a Stoic means facing it without fear, because you have no regrets. It means living in such a way that when your final moment comes, you can say, "I did what I came to do." That is his lasting legacy, and the greatest gift he left behind. It is a lesson not only in dying, but in how to live with courage, honor, and peace. He didn't raise his voice, but his life raised me. This simple truth sits heavy with me every day. My grandfather never needed to shout or preach. His strength wasn't loud or showy. It was quiet, steadfast, and unwavering. That strength shaped me far more deeply than any words ever could. The lessons he lived by weren't abstract ideas or fleeting inspirations. They were a blueprint, an unshakable code for navigating a chaotic world. He didn't wear armor because he was the armor. His character was a fortress built silently brick by brick through discipline, patience, and unwavering integrity. That's the true power of Stoicism, not in grand speeches or intellectual debates, but in the doing, in the daily choices to endure, to act honorably, and to face hardship without flinching. The 10 lessons I shared with you are more than just memories. They are keys to a life that can withstand storms, heartbreak, and the noise of the world. When you carry these truths, you carry strength that doesn't break or bend, strength that whispers, not shouts, strength that echoes forever in your actions, long after the noise has died down. This is not about perfection. It is about showing up when it's hardest, choosing integrity when it's easiest to bend, and standing firm when the world demands you crumble. My grandfather's strength was real because it was tested by life's fires, not words, but lived experience. If you feel this in your bones, if something inside you recognizes that quiet power, then comment, "I carry his strength." Let that be your declaration, because you are not alone in this path. There are others who understand that the greatest victories come not from loud applause, but from the silent battles won within. Share this video with someone who needs that quiet armor. Maybe you had a figure like him, someone whose presence steadied your soul. Or maybe you want to be that figure for someone else. Either way, know this: the Stoic doesn't seek recognition, because character needs no audience. True strength lives in the unseen choices, the private battles, and the everyday acts of courage. So as you move forward, remember, real strength doesn't shout. It endures. It stands steady, and it echoes forever, through every challenge you meet and every moment you choose to be better than before. This is your invitation to live that strength, to carry that armor, and to walk through life like the strongest man I ever knew, quietly, fiercely, and unbreakably.